Cross-platform play is something that was once considered almost impossible to achieve given the competitive nature of the market and those participating in it, but slowly and surely it has indeed become a reality over the last few years. Both the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox One allow cross-platform play for online multiplayer games, and games such as Rocket League, for instance, have only benefited from this. The one major player that has refused to take part in this, however, is Sony, with the PS4 still not supporting cross-platform play. They've received their fair share of criticism for this, and rightly so too. Game Informer recently also posted an opinion piece on the short-sightedness of Sony in this issue, when Microsoft's Mike Ibarra, who is the vice president of the Xbox division, replied to the tweet on the article and gave his own 2 cents. Ibarra said that people want larger pools of players to play with and against while playing competitive multiplayer, and that this isn't something that's going to go away anytime soon, and that makes a lot of sense. It's hard to see why Sony can't see that too. Cross-platform play should be a basic minimum, and Sony's restrictive practices can only prove detrimental to them and PlayStation owners in the long run. One pervasive question around Microsoft's upcoming Xbox One X has been whether or not developers will indeed spend the time, money, or resources to tap into its significant hardware resources fully, given how its install base pales next to the PS4, Xbox One, and PS4 Pro. However, it seems like Slightly Mad Studios, whose Project Cars 2 launches later this year, are going all in on leveraging the hardware inside the machine. Speaking to trusted reviews, Project Cars 2 game director Stephen Viljoen confirmed that the game will look better on Xbox One X than it does on anything else, except for high-end PCs of course. Obviously, we can't go everything ultra because on PC you can run it on 3 4K monitors, and everything's set to absolutely incredible detail, which is simply not possible on this generation of consoles, he said. The Xbox One X is a great piece of hardware and we're very excited for it, and we're making the most of it, so when you run the game on it, it will certainly look better than if you're running it on anything else, other than a high-end PC. But even so, you can only do so much. Project Cars 2 is out on September 22nd, and it will be available on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. While the PS4 Pro version will apparently not look as good as the Xbox One X version, it should still, however, provide players with a bump in visuals over graphics on the standard Xbox One or PS4. Guerrilla Games has made it big with Horizon Zero Dawn, their open-world action RPG that hit the PS4 earlier this year to rave reviews and an impressive amount of copies sold. The success of the game all but assures that there will be a follow-up, that it will in fact become a tentpole franchise for Sony, which is all well and good, but it also does cast a giant question mark over the fate of the Killzone franchise. Fans of Sony and Guerrilla's flawed first-person shooter series apparently are eager to know exactly whether or not we may expect more titles in the future. Managing director Herman Hulst said in a recent interview with the Academy of Interactive Arts and Science, "I get asked that question a lot through Twitter and other social media channels. It's really heartwarming to hear that there's such a strong appetite from the loyal Killzone fanbase. It's a franchise and a universe that we still love with a passion at Guerrilla. It hasn't been easy doing something so completely different. Whether or not we put a permanent period behind the series, it's too early to make announcements on that. All I can say is that we've always loved the Killzone universe and the Killzone series, and we still do. We share that passion for the game with a lot of our fans." Which is not even close to a real answer, let's be honest. This could be interpreted either way. It could mean that the franchise is dead, but he doesn't want to say it in as many words, or it could mean that it's still around, but Guerrilla doesn't want to divert attention from Horizon Zero Dawn for now. While the big push for Gran Turismo Sport seems to be its online play, centered around unprecedented partnerships with real-world motorsport events, it seems like all of that will still account for only a fraction of everything that the game has to offer. As GT Planet reports, during an interview at the PlayStation Experience event in Malaysia last weekend, series creator Kazunori Yamauchi stated that the online portion of Gran Turismo Sport will comprise of only 15% of the total game, suggesting that single-player content such as the driving school, mission challenge, circuit experience, and racing etiquette will form the bulk of the game's offering. For many who are worried that the game would eschew the single-player focus the series has traditionally had, this doubtless comes as good news. More and more, it's seeming like Polyphony Digital wants to ensure that Gran Turismo Sport is a new mainline Gran Turismo game in all but name when it launches exclusively for the PS4 in October. Hello Games' Nomads Sky is receiving its third biggest content update today with Atlas Rises. The free update has promised story content and working portals, but there's a lot more in store than we imagined. Basically, Atlas Rises adds 30 hours of story content, missions that are procedurally generated, high-fidelity textures, and a co-op mode of sorts called Joint Exploration. Now, Joint Exploration is interesting because you'll see up to 16 other players exploring a planet. You can interact with them and use voice chat, thus coordinating to explore the world together if you so wish. Though limited, the studio noted that it was a first step in creating synchronous co-op for the game. The update also contains a new race and will reveal more information about the Sentinels, the Gek, Atlas, and much more. Features like low flight mode, new soundscapes courtesy of 65 Days of Static, freighter classes for ships, and the aforementioned portals are also inbound. The update should be live at this time for PC and PS4. Just when you thought Bethesda was down for the count with Fallout 4, not including the Fallout 4 VR title that was showcased at E3 2017, the company announces Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition and the Pip-Boy Collector's Edition for release in September. Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition includes all previously released DLC, including Nuka World, Vault-Tec Workshop, Contraptions Workshop, Far Harbor, Wasteland Workshop, and Automatron. Players will also avail of free updates like Survival Mode and high-resolution textures, not to mention support for the heaps of mods developed thus far. As for the Pip-Boy Collector's Edition, it will be available in North America at a few retailers. Along with a real-world version of Fallout's infamous Pip-Boy, it will also contain Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition and retails at $99.99. Both editions will be available on Xbox One, PS4, and PC on September 26th. Meanwhile, Fallout 4 VR will release in Q4 2017 for HTC Vive. First available for North American and European servers in solo and duo queues, Bluehole has now confirmed on Twitter that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds will have first-person mode active for servers across all modes in North America, Europe, and Asia. Leaderboards will arrive at a later date. Though PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has always offered a first-person perspective, fans have been clamoring for a first-person only mode for a while. This was due to the cheesing that was possible with third-person mode. First-person only modes should hence provide a better competitive experience for those who seek it. More content will be coming to the game in the next few months, including new maps, but a release date for the same hasn't been offered. Sony has established a pattern at this point. Every year around fall, they release a new X.0 firmware update for the PS4 that adds a lot of new functionality to the system, as well as requested features. These X.0 version updates are the only ones where users can expect major new features. The other updates through the year are generally smaller firmware updates with bug and stability fixes, although in recent years, Sony has also taken to releasing an X.50 update every March or April, which also adds major new features. So it would be extremely disappointing if a major version update like this year's 5.0 update were to be disappointing, right? It seems like that's what's going to happen. Eurogamer has gained access to early release notes for the upcoming update, which detail the features users can expect from it. The features include 60 FPS 1080p Twitch streaming, changes made to how master/sub accounts are handled, the ability to follow a user, and the addition of notifications to the quick menu panel. And that seems to be it. If so, this would be a hugely disappointing update. All we can hope for is that these early release notes don't turn out to be representative of the full extent of changes the new firmware update will bring. Shadow of War has not had a good week, as far as optics and news go. The news first broke out that the game, a single-player game, will have loot crates via microtransactions. This is an egregious practice to begin with in multiplayer games, but it's absolutely unacceptable in single-player titles. Some sites also began to report that the game will necessitate an always online connection to be played, in spite of its status as a single-player game, because of the inclusion of these loot crates. Naturally, this was not news that went down well with anyone. Always online gaming is one of the few things that the gaming audience simply does not seem to stand for, especially for single-player games. The fact that it was apparently being shoehorned into the game to enable a loot box system no one asked for seemed to be the final straw for everybody. However, it seems like it was a misunderstanding that was the culprit here, on the part of the websites that broke the news first. While Shadow of War will in fact have loot boxes and microtransactions, and while we fully believe that's something detestable that needs to be spoken out against, it seems as though the game will not require online connectivity to be played, only needing you to be online to redeem your loot boxes, which has been confirmed by Monolith's community manager, Monolith Jared. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.